Welcome back to TV5 News at 9. It's time now for Education Matters. We're here with Dr. Craig Douglas. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Now, many juniors and seniors in high school are ready for their next step, applying for colleges and universities. But the process looks a lot different this year. What changes should they look out for?
So I credit my wife, Joan, who was director of guidance at Garber High School for a number of years, for suggesting this topic. And so I reached out to a former colleague of mine and a friend, Jennifer Paul. Jen is the director of admissions at Saginaw Valley State University. And I posed the question, how is the college search business impacted by COVID? And oh my goodness, the changes are huge, they're deep, and they're sweeping.
Really?
So I'm proposing we kind of break this into two segments. I'd like to speak and focus on applying for college today in today's segment. And then in a future segment, we'll talk more about how to visit and really be on campus during this pandemic.
Okay.
So today I'll focus on application, and ironically, October is designated as College Application Month. This has been going on for a number of years, and typically high schools make a big push for their seniors to apply to colleges, and most colleges waive application fees during the month of October. Well, with now so many high schools either blended or online, these meetings and this effort has really changed at the local level. And the universities have struggled, I think, or at least been challenged. I shouldn't say struggled. They've been challenged with the fact that high schools are pretty restricted in terms of their visits. So I'm going to focus on the application fees first.
Okay.
They're waived in the month of October, but in Saginaw Valley status, they're going to actually waive the application fees permanently. So for seniors looking to apply to college, inquire to see if the fee is waived just in October or if it's permanent, but seek to have the application fees waived if possible. And the second point is to reach out to colleges and universities. Take the initiative. This is more important than ever before. The SAT and ACT tests were postponed last spring, so there's been a disruption in this process. Typically what would happen is seniors would take these standardized tests, they would send their scores to colleges, and they'd be connected to the college through their test scores. Well, the tests weren't given, so that process is disrupted. And Jen makes a great point to encourage parents to have their students go online and connect with universities and to make the application process starting now so that they get connected to the universities regarding various scholarships and programs that are available. With this disruption in the system, students need to take a bigger initiative than ever before. And speaking of the test, the SAT has been given once, and it's scheduled to be given again tomorrow in the state of Michigan.
Okay.
Students should sign up and take that test and get the results sent out as quickly as possible. This is free of charge when they're sitting for the test. This triggers the connections that Jen's describing. And speaking of the test, this is a game changer. Because the tests weren't given last spring, colleges are now taking a stand that tests are optional data points for admission. So in other words, students can apply to college, not have their test scores, and be admitted on other factors like grade point average and involvement in extracurriculars and essay responses and all those other indicators that colleges use in the application process. This test optional status is in existence now and will continue into the future. I would predict at least in the near future. But regardless of that, let me swing back and urge students to still take the test. Why? Because the test scores get sent to the universities. It can help in course selection and scholarships, especially private scholarships. So it's a game changer. Apply now, even before getting the test scores back, but still take the tests, have the scores, open other doors once the student is admitted to the college. I hope all this makes sense. The bottom line is take charge, reach out to the colleges and their universities, through the websites and direct those SAT, ACT test scores to the schools of interest. Be confident that these universities want students, but the processes have shifted. And I guess we shouldn't be surprised. It is a pandemic after all.
Yeah.
So more on this topic next week in terms of how to visit colleges virtually and in person during the pandemic.
This is some great information. You know, there are a lot of opportunities for kids, especially with scholarships, a lot of the things that you touched upon. So this is great information to highlight, especially for those parents who may not be familiar. Thank you again, Dr. Douglas, for speaking with us this morning.
Thank you, and thanks again to Jen Paul for directing me in the changes that have occurred during the pandemic.
And if you would like any more information about today's topic, you can check out the school source page on WNEM.com.